Welcome back, Tigers. We are in week 11. You only have a total of 19 learning weeks in the semester, and we're at week 11. So we're nearing the 2/3, slash 3/4 mark. We are 56% of the way through the semester. The reason why I give you that percentage, as I say every week, is that I want you to have a temperature on your progress in all of your classes. So sometimes that percentage of this is where I'm at helps you go, ooh, I got to hunker down, I got to focus. So that's one of the reasons why I do that. So week 11, let's jump on into it. We are doing vegetable cookery this week, okay, and we are sort of wrapping up. We are wrapping up our. We have 4 more weeks of savory labs. We have 2 weeks of dessert labs, and then you have the Top Chef activities. So literally, so again, 4 weeks of just savory, 2 weeks of baking and pastry related labs to help you transition. If you want to take the baking and pastry course, it's a way to get a taste for that. And then you do a Top Chef activity where you design the menu and create your own dish of food. That will be. I will have colleagues that are here teaching in the building, and administrators come in and they'll be part of the judging. The judging for the Top Chef will be pretty, much more amped and rigorous experience for you. So looking forward to that. You have a little bit of humor here. You said we can grow our own food. So where are the hot dog seeds? Okay. How many of you guys love your protein, right? All right. So yeah, probably most of us. So don't have any vegan or vegetarian jokes. I'm going to stick with that. And so at this point, I and we will learn and apply basic vegetable cookery techniques. I and we will learn and apply basic vegetable cookery techniques. And I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the lecture. Actually, I'm going to. Okay, so thanks for your review of the learning target. Again, I and we will learn and apply basic vegetable cookery techniques. So we're focused on cooking vegetables this week. We're cooking what some would call to be a starch, right? But it's still a vegetable, right? We're cooking potatoes. We're doing a garlic mashed potato this week. And then next week, one of the most favorite labs that I find that students like in culinary all semester long is the chicken stroganoff. And so we're going to take the potatoes and chicken stroganoff classically served with egg noodles, or any stroganoff dish is often served with egg noodles. We're going to be using the mashed potatoes. You'll taste your mashed potatoes this week, and then we'll heat those next week and serve those. I really want to have something more with your chicken stroganoff. So you're going to have your garlic mashed potatoes with your chicken stroganoff, okay? So you got some lesson material in Google Classroom. Okay, so we got a couple more humorous pieces here. Why do potatoes make great detectives? Is the joke number 1. Anybody have any idea?
Because they're rustic.
Because they're rustic, because they're mashy, because they what? 10 eyes. Okay, let's go with that. Because they always keep their eyes peeled. All right, Ellen, I appreciate that. Thanks, Ellen. Okay, what do you use to carry potatoes?
A potato bag.
Hey, a tater tote. Hey, a potato bag. That was good. All right, a little bit of humor there. Okay, so we're preparing our labs. I know you guys are all fired up now. So potato lab, garlic mashed potatoes, and then we've got 2 lessons in Ruby. One, how to roast vegetables. That's this time of the year. Even we're doing a Thanksgiving meal that we're going to sell to staff, and we're doing a roasted root vegetables with a balsamic glaze on it, and just a wonderful dish during the fall and winter months. So, and then you're going to learn how to cook vegetables in water, and that's what you'll be doing this week as part of your lab. Okay. One of the biggest things that I can make mention of is the importance of using vegetables when they're in season. Okay, when they're in season, that's important, right? So vegetables taste better. The price point typically will be lower because they're in abundance, right? Now you'll find that the commercial supermarket doesn't typically connect with local, seasonal, and regional. You'll find sometimes Safeway, Fred Meyer more so, will post information about their suppliers and they'll put something that is locally sourced. And I find that when it gets into the mass distribution, the price points typically don't go down. But when you're buying it in quantity in our industry through wholesale distribution, you'll be able to save by buying things that are in season. Okay. And you can look at on the left, you've got a seasonality chart. On the right, you've got sort of a chart that breaks it down winter, spring, summer, or fall. And anybody watch the show The Bear? Somebody said yes. The Bear. It's about a chef in Chicago. Pretty cool show. A little bit, full of profanity, but not endorsing that. But it really gets into looking at food from the lens of how do you create fresh food right here, right now. That's concentrating on sourcing what's available in the marketplace. And then if you look at seasonal produce guide, if you go to the SNAP website, you can literally get a breakdown here. You see on the screen of all the fruit and when their most concentrated availability is. So you can see here the brassica family, like Brussels sprouts, the cabbage family, broccoli, cauliflower. You got cranberries, collard greens, a lot of hardier greens, pumpkin, squash, yams, sweet potatoes, beets. All of these things are typically the items that you're going to see during the fall and winter months. Okay. So moving right along here. All right. One of the biggest things, if you go to the farmer's market, okay, I don't think this time of the year there's one that's available during here in Battleground during this time of the year, okay? But I believe that the downtown Vancouver farmer's market is still operating. And if you go to the farmer's market, I'll give you extra credit for that. Experiential learning credit, just post a picture. I think it's a great way to get in touch with what is available right here and right now. The other thing to think about is when you're sourcing vegetables, the other aspect of that has to be eating what's called the rainbow. So thinking about what vegetables are good for you, like blueberries are concentrated in antioxidants that are good for your body, deal with fighting and combating inflammation, okay? So there's ways to look at the vegetables that you're eating and how they benefit your body, even from sort of a medicinal lens, okay? And that's another thing to think about when you're sourcing vegetables, okay? Quick overview here, okay? What are your favorite vegetables? What do you guys like? Yell it out to me. Potatoes? Huh? Parsnips. Love me some roasted parsnips. Oh, huh? Yeah, what are your favorite vegetables? Broccoli? Sugar snap peas, man. Picking them off the vine. Yeah, it's good. Edamame, okay. Beets, yeah, love me some beets too. Yeah. Okay. Okay, cooking them in season, like I said, you get a higher yield, typically a lower price if you source it right through the right channels. And then obviously, if they're in season, you're going to get them at their peak flavor, right? They're going to be at their best. I'm challenged by what mass distribution does to produce in particular, because we often source it from South America, California, and Florida, and distribute it nationally and even internationally. I'm a believer in free economy and capitalism and all that, but at the same time, when it comes to a perishable product like produce, sometimes a good example is you think about mass distribution, supply chain issues. What happened in the last 2 weeks in the industry that was a big upset that had to do with vegetables? Who knows? McDonald's, right? What happened at McDonald's?
Onions.
Yeah, onion contamination with E. coli, right? One death and a lot of people ill, okay? Kidney problems, people are still in the hospital coming back from that. And so when you think about mass distribution and supply chain economy, one of the challenges is when we're dealing with fresh produce, we can get ourselves into some tough situations when it comes to the processing and the liability there. So there's a diversity of flavors, colors, and cooking techniques, okay? Obviously, they're a healthy source of vitamins and minerals. One of the things you want to consider is whether you want to be committed to buying produce that's organic or not, okay? And the elimination of pesticides during the growing process. Obviously, one of the things that I like about vegetables is You want to factor in the flavor profile. So if I want to bring in some bitterness, I'd introduce something from the brassica family, like cabbage or Brussels sprouts or cauliflower or broccoli. And then if you want to introduce something sweet, like Ellen said, parsnips, beets, they have a really high sugar concentration. So thinking about how you want to design the flavor of a dish that you're making and what it brings to the table naturally. The degree of doneness is really important. One of the things that I find is when previous generation cooks beef stew, it's a pet peeve of mine that I don't have overcooked vegetables in a stew dish. And so what I do is typically I'll allow some larger pieces of carrot, onions, and celery cook in the stew during that process, and then I'll take them out, remove them with a pair of tongs, okay, at the end of the stewing process. So they give their nutrients, they give off their flavor, they give off their moisture, and then I take them out when they're sort of worthless pieces of vegetable that have been overcooked. And then I simply add in fresh vegetables and let them cook just enough in the stew that they're al dente. They're still bright in color. They add some good contribution of flavor and texture, and they're a little bit fresher to the eye. And so one of the things about vegetables often in previous generation is they'll throw the vegetables into the stew and cook them until the vegetables are as tender as the beef. And I don't prefer that. You want to consider, as I said earlier, the sugar content, the moisture content, the starch content, okay, in the vegetable, okay? And so look at the characteristics of the vegetable and understand how they cook. So a more dense vegetable, okay, all right, more dense vegetable like parsnips, carrots, turnips, rutabaga, they have a longer cook time than something like let's say, for example, a pea, like was mentioned, like a sugar snap pea, right? You don't want to cook that for very long, or asparagus. Okay, they're typically herbs and spices are a good way to complement the flavors of a vegetable. I might put a harissa or gochujang spice blend on a head of cauliflower when I roast it, and so it's often the vegetables are a canvas. They often don't taste real robust. You have some vegetables like celery's got a really distinct flavor, or parsnips. Some of them are very distinct, and some of them are really good neutral canvas for other herbs and spices to carry the flavor. Okay, and then obviously finishing them with the proper degree of seasoning with salt and pepper. Here's a little video from Alice Waters, really quick.
I challenge you to find what is perfectly in season and ripe, and then just slice it, taste it, and serve it. Recipes are a framework, but the most important thing is the ingredient, where you find it, how you cook it, and how you will turn it into a beautiful meal. I want you to know what food is really alive and seasonal. This is a kind of cooking that nourishes the body and the soul. I want to show you how to buy food in a farmer's market. Talk directly to the people who grow your food. Go to the market before you decide what to cook. That will free you from an overdependence on recipes. Because if you start with really good ingredients, you don't have to do much to them. This is the philosophy of food that we serve at Chez Panisse and the food that I cook at home. We're trying to figure out the best way to serve it and not get in the way of the real taste of that food. You can never think about food in the way you may have thought about it in the past. It's about how to use every part of an ingredient very, very simply. That's the beautiful thing about this delicious revolution. The closer that we get to the source of our food, the better it is for us and for this planet. I'm Alice Waters, and this is my masterclass.
Yeah, that gives you a good understanding of really Alice Waters was sort of one of the founders of a movement that really is nothing new. It's really something of old that's coming back, but looking at, local, seasonal, regional food sourcing, connecting with local farmers, keeping food local. And we're doing more here in Clark County to try to connect and support local agriculture. I think that's an important movement because farmers who are bought out and by the big providers often struggle to make their ends meet. And so they need local support. That's important, I think. Okay, here's a quick walkthrough. This is Alton Brown's lens, and then I'll do the demo tomorrow. I'm going to play this video, all right, and then I'm going to release you to work on Ruby. So let's watch this. This will walk you through our lab this week.
So, enjoying those holiday mashed potatoes? Taste good, do they? But I don't understand. You said, oh, I see, pasty and gummy enough to build a mountain. You know why? Well, when most people mash or whip potatoes, they end up unleashing an oozy, gummy gluiness that's not too appealing. You, want to make some you can actually eat? Well, then come on! Yes, now! First step is the ripe potatoes. Now, any Idaho russet style will do the trick, but I like Yukon Gold. So take 2 pounds of these, peel them, and then cut them into uniform half-inch pieces. Then, move these to a 4-quart saucepan and cover with about 1 inch of cold water. Crank the heat to high and cover. Then, remove the lid and decrease the heat to maintain a simmer. Continue to cook until the potatoes can easily be crushed with a pair of tongs. Now, you're pretty good with those tongs, aren't you? Yeah, well, now drain those potatoes before they overcook. And then get the pot back over here on the stovetop. There, now add 1 stick of butter cut into small pieces, and you want to add 1/2 cup of heavy cream, along with some salt, that's right, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Just grind that right in. Go ahead and bring that to a simmer over low heat. Now, spuds, what do you got to mash those things with? I see. Yes, all very nice indeed. But those are the kind of things that get you into trouble. What you really need is a food mill. And if you can find one with exchangeable dies, you'll want to use the one with the smallest holes. Now just place that right over the pot, add about 1/4 of the potato parts and crank away. You know, this wouldn't seem like so much work if you got some exercise every now and then. There. Now, once you've got all the potatoes milled in, just stir to combine with the creamy goodness. But don't overwork them. Just stir to combine. There. Now, those mashed potatoes are so good, you might want to skip the turkey, the dressing, the sweet potatoes, Aunt Vera's congealed carrot salad. Well, you get the point.
Sort of appropriate. And again, reminder, experiential learning credit, if you were involved in making your holiday meals, Thanksgiving, over the winter break or whatever, make sure you take pictures and submit that in the stream, and I'll give you credit for that. Okay, so with that, I'd like to release you to grab your Chromebooks, bring them out. I'm going to do grading from Friday, and you'll go ahead and work on Ruby. And if you have any questions, come on up and see me.